Book Club. I'm Hayley, and this week we are discussing The Selection, Book 1 of the trilogy by Kiera Cass. I said a little bit about it last week, and I'll say it again. There's a reason I'm only going to read Book 1 of this series. Now, I'm going to give you a warning. There will be spoilers in this video. I'm going to spoil things because I'm going to kind of discuss the whole series because I'm not going to finish the series. I've read it before, and I went back and looked at book 2 and 3 like a little bit just to see, and there's a reason that I actually don't like this series. Book 1, I'm gonna say right now, book 1 is good. I liked book 1. I didn't think I was going to. I had pretty low expectations because I remembered not liking the series when I read it, who knows, like 5 years ago, more years than that. When I read it 5 years ago, I remember I did not like the series, and I couldn't remember why. I remember now. Book 1 is good. It's book 2 and 3, and I'll get to that. Book 1, though, I give it a 4 stars. 4 stars out of 5. I enjoyed it. I got through it in a day, guys. I read this entire book in one day, and I liked it. It was well-paced. It kept moving. I liked the characters. But here's what I'm going to say about the selection as a whole. It gave me this weird feeling, it reminded me of the reality show Bachelor, and like a mixture of like the beginning part of Hunger Games, when like all that like parading stuff and they're all getting all dressed up and all that. It was like a weird combination of that. Now, if you like either of those things, great. I don't, and that's I'm allowed to have my opinion. I've never been a big fan of Hunger Games. Yeah, I know. all the comments are gonna say I'm wrong. I'm just not a fan of Hunger Games. And again, I'm sure I'm gonna get the same thing when I say this. Bachelor and Bachelorette, they're silly and shallow. They are silly and shallow shows, and yes, I've watched a few here and there just to see if I'll ever change my mind. I think it's silly, I think it's shallow, and I can't stand them. I think it's such a... yeah. I do not like them. But I did like this. This did not feel silly and shallow. So, the story is, we have the main character, another redhead. I swear I don't pick it because of that. I don't pick books because of redheads. But it's another redhead, and I do love her character. She is another fiery character. The main character is America Singer. She is named after America, which is no longer a country. It used to be. This story is set, what did they say? 300 years in the future. About 300 years in the future. And America's not a thing anymore. They are now in a country called Ilya, based on the person who rescued the country and created a new country. There's a whole history thing to this story, which I thought was cool, because it's based on our real world, our actual history, and like this author's making guesses at, oh, this is what's gonna happen next. And again, like it's dystopian. It's a dystopian future world. It's cool though. I liked it. America Singer, main character, is picked for something called the Selection. The Selection is 35 girls are picked to try to win the heart of the prince. So again, there's your Bachelor vibe. Except I liked the prince. He had some depth, he had some personality. I was rooting for him. America, we follow her first person, so there's definitely moments when you go, I don't like this character, but you're stuck in her head all the time and you kind of want to like see some other characters' points of view, but it's just hers. But I will say I'm rooting for Prince Maxon and America to be together. Now, this is where there's a spoiler. Here is the spoiler. If you don't want spoilers, don't watch past here. Here's the spoiler. I'm giving you a moment if you want to stop. Alright, here's the spoiler. Yes, they end up together in book 3. Like, it would be really weird in my mind if after all of this you're following this character for her not to be. I mean, yes, there's points when like you could see where it could go, but I didn't want it to go there. I wanted them to end up together, and they do. What's annoying is book 2 and 3 getting it there. Book 1 is great. Book 1, you've got 35 girls, and you all see how they're all different, and how America stands out, and I liked America's character. I was like, she was staying true to herself. Now, did I always like who she was? No. But she was at least staying herself. While there were so many other female characters, I mean, there's 35 of them, who were just trying to imitate each other, trying to be better than each other, and like, were being petty. And, I mean, of course that's going to happen in a story like this. I think if it had just been the romance and that drama, I wouldn't have liked this book. There is more to this. Like, you look at it and you go, oh, it's all about the glitz and the glam. And yeah, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of that. If you're not into, like, girly glitz and glam, you won't like this book very much. Which is probably why I didn't like it when I read it initially. And I can see why, because glitz and glam was not my thing. And I mean, it still really isn't. But there's more to the story. I mean, with any country, a country has enemies. And that's a reoccurring problem in this. And it continues into the next books. And it grows and it expands. And it's really cool. And that part of the story is awesome. But this whole girly drama, it gets old. So, by the end of book 1, you've got a love triangle. You've got the cliche love triangle. Because obviously this character had a love interest before she went to the palace, and that makes her character a little more interesting, and I guess that's good. And it makes her a more personable person, because, like, she had a love interest. She didn't actually want to be in the selection. She went because there's money involved. Because she is from a lower caste. I should have said that from the beginning. There's a caste system in this world. And she is from a lower caste, and she does it because she wants to get money for her family, because being a contestant in the selection, your family gets money the longer you're in the competition, which is really cool, and I think that's a good reason to do it. But she has a love interest. That love interest breaks her heart at the beginning of the book, so that's not a spoiler, really. Aspen is the other love interest. He's a caste below her, which is why their love is so, like, forbidden. You're not supposed to, like, date someone below your caste. But then he comes back. I did not want him to come back. I think his character is a jerk. I think his character is self-absorbed. Even though he tries to play off this whole selfless act, it changes. Like, he's very full of himself. He wants what he wants. He wants to be in charge of everything. And I could not stand his character. I was happy that they didn't end up together, because they wouldn't have been happy anymore. He broke her heart, sent her off to the palace. She starts to have feelings for the prince, which, I mean, yeah, you really, like, it's a prince. And then he tries to come back and win her away from him. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I did not like his character. And I think that's what I didn't like so much about book 2 and 3, is that she's so torn between them. And I'm like, he broke your heart. He sent you here. Push him away. Like, be done with him. I could not stand his character, because he just kept coming and coming. And, like, you could tell America goes back and forth the whole series between the two of them for quite some time. But she's more towards Maxon, the prince, more and more. But she keeps letting Aspen, like, creep back in. And I'm like, no, shut him down, send him away, tell the prince, get rid of him. He's a jerk, and he deserves whatever he's got coming to him. Because, like, Aspen is so in love that he's willing to risk both their lives. And I'm like, you're an idiot. If you love this person, you would not be risking their life. They clearly are telling you this is a bad idea. But he keeps trying to pull her back in, and she's in this very back and forth. That part gets annoying, because it continues all the way to book 3. And then it almost leads to them not, the prince and America not being together. That made me crazy. And I was like, no, they're so good together. So many of the girls that come to the selection are shallow. They just want the crown. They don't care about the people. America cares about the people because she's one of the lower caste. So she's like, I see the problems in our world and I want to help change them. That becomes her drive. Because she's like, oh, the lower caste are being mistreated. They're not getting education. They're turning to crime because they can't afford anything better. And so she's telling the prince all this, and she's like, I want to change this. I want to get rid of the caste system. I want to make education better. I want to make living better for these people. So I was rooting for her because she had her heart in the right place. Was she annoying about this love triangle? Absolutely. But I wanted her to end up with a prince because no one else had the same goals. Most people came from higher caste, so they didn't even know about these problems. They didn't care about these problems. Was I at one point rooting for some other people? Maybe. Like, there were some other people that seemed nice. Like, and it gets down to the wire. The prince almost picks another girl. Almost. Like, he's about to propose to another girl because he's mad at America. Because America and this stupid love triangle. This stupid, ridiculous love triangle. Like, it should have ended. I never wanted it to really be that big of a thing. And it is. And it made me crazy. Okay. We're going back to the main book. I think most people will enjoy reading book 1. But if you're not the type of person that can stop a series once you've started, I don't know. I don't want to reread book 2 and 3. Like, I read some reviews by other people. I read some basic synopsis, because I've read this before. I read it before, so it wasn't like I was spoiling it for myself. I've read it. I knew it was coming, but I wanted to remember more about the plot, the more detailed parts of the plot. I'm not gonna keep reading it. Like, I know that they end up together, and there's just a whole lot of drama that leads to it. Now, is the book believable? Like, if you're looking for believable, I mean, this is in the future, dystopia, fantasy, romance. Like, there's some things that aren't totally believable, but it's mostly just this love triangle and yeah. After book one, like, this was good. The first book was good, but I'm not gonna keep reading it. Like, I've talked as much as I want to about the whole series. I am ready to move on to something else. So that's what we're gonna do. I am going to draw next week's book. So let me grab my basket. My wonderful basket full of lots of books. Alright, I'm going to try to actually keep it up here. Next week, we will be reading... we will be reading the classic romance. Well, one of many. There are many classic romances. We will be reading Emma by Jane Austen. It is a classic romance. I can't remember the last time. I don't know if I've actually read all of Emma. I think I started it, because I sort of started all of the Jane Austen books. I got through Pride and Prejudice, got through Sense and Sensibility, then I got to Emma, and I think I kind of, like, hit my thing with romance. I just read so many romances. But we are reading Emma by Jane Austen. It is a classic romance. I can't even remember what Emma is about. Well, we're going to talk about it next week, when I actually do know. So I will see you next week when we discuss Emma by Jane Austen. Bye!